Hey everyone, you can hear me? Shane here. I am just jumping in to introduce just to introduce our next speaker, who is Priya Ramakrishnan. I can say that, I've practiced. Priya's a developer. She actually develops with us at Pukunui, and she's just talking about developing your first Moodle plugin, and I guess it's partly a technical one, but also partly about a journey of what she's learned along the way of working with us, working with Moodle. And so I just want to thank Priya for giving up the time to do this and put this together, and I'll hand over to her. I was trying to encourage her to turn her webcam on as well, but I think she's a little shy. So.
Yeah. Thanks for the Shane. Hi all, this is Priya. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So welcome you all to iMoot 2013. So my topic for discussion today would be developing your first Moodle plugin. So as we proceed, the overview of the presentation would be, this presentation will give you an idea about developing a plugin in Moodle, and I'm just gonna go through the sequence of steps or process involved in developing a plugin along with an sample plugin. So I have also provided the reference links along and also at the end of the presentation, which will be very helpful for the starters. So I'm assuming that all participants would have working knowledge of Moodle and plugins and also a knowledge of PHP. So yeah, plugins. Like the most easiest way to add a new functionality to Moodle is by writing a plugin. Hope you all know that, and listed are the types of plugins available in Moodle. So based on our requirement, we can choose any one of the plugins listed. And below is the link for accessing the particular page in Moodle orgs. You can go in there and check out the different kinds of plugins available in Moodle. And you can proceed along with that. And the first step in developing process, before that I would like to explain the sample plugin which you're going to see today. It's last access report, and the requirement for the plugin would be to list the users who have accessed the selected course in a particular date range. It's a simple plugin to start with. And yeah, coding style. I know it's tough, but we have to follow it for no reason. It's very important for any development project to have standard coding styles. So when we have standard coding styles, it's easier for everyone to read and understand, and that's highly recommended in writing a Moodle plugin. So some of the coding guidelines for Moodle includes like 4-space indentations and including PHP tags, and there are also several other standards to be followed while writing a plugin. You can refer to the below link, so which will give you a list of coding styles that is followed in plugin, writing a plugin in Moodle. And next is building up your plugin. So building up your plugin involves the following steps. It may vary depending on your requirement, like adding database tables, defining capabilities, declaring the language strings, version control, defining the settings, and your plugin base code. So first step in creating a plugin would be creating a plugin directory. And today we are going to create a plugin type called report. So I'm creating my plugin directory last access under the report directory. So if you're trying to create a plugin type like a local one, you have to create your plugin directory under local directory. And yeah, you have to create your plugin directly under your plugin type. And yeah, as I said before, the first step is like creating your database tables, and XML DB editor is one such tool for making the .xml files that specify how Moodle should set up its database tables. It's a very easy process to set up your database, and the first thing would be to create a DB directory under your plugin directory. So when you create your DB directory, your your directory structure looks something like that shown in the picture. You could see this picture. This is how your plugin directory structure looks like after creating your DB directory. And once after creating your DB directory, you need to navigate through the site administration menu, under which you can find a development menu, under which you can find a link for XML DB editor. When you click on that link, you could see a list of database locations for all the plugins available in your Moodle site, under which you can go and search for your plugin. So our sample plugin is named as Last Access today, so we can go in there and search for Last Access. So the below line appears where you could see the create link is enabled. When you click on this create link, you could see that a file called install.xml is created under your DB directory, which you created earlier. And the next step would be, once you create that, then you can see your load link getting enabled, and when you click on that, you could see your edit link getting enabled. And when you click on your edit link, it takes you to a screen which looks something like this, where you could go and create your tables. And when you create your tables, you will get links for creating your fields. You can create foreign keys, all kind of keys, and you can basically set up your complete database for record for your plugin using this XML DB editor. And today's plugin, we are not going to create any database tables. So I'm just going to the next step, like capabilities. So yeah, capabilities are used to control access to a particular page based on the permissions. It's very easy to create capabilities as well. So hope you all remember that we created a directory called DB under your plugin directory. So under DB, again, we are going to create the access.php file. So this would be the second file under your DB directory. Initially, when you access your XML DB editor and when you create your database tables, you would already have a file called install.xml, and now this is access.php under your DB directory, and in which you are going to define your capabilities. So the general naming convention for your capability would be your plugin type / your plugin name : and your capability name. So on following that, today our capability would be named as report / last access : view. Report is our plugin type, last access is our plugin name, and view would be a capability name. So yeah, this is how a sample capability file looks. Then this is the one created for our plugin today, last access. And you could see here the capability name report / last access : view, and it's an array, and it has different fields like risk, bit, mask, which is used to identify the possible security risk, and one such risk is risk_personal. There are also other risks like risk spam, risk data loss, risk access, and you can also concatenate more than one risk using the OR operator. And the next field would be cap type, which can be either read or write. Read is to just view things, and write is to just change things. And the context level is, you can choose any context level based on that is very relevant to your capability. And yeah, today I'm choosing the context_course, and next one would be RT types. For each role type, we can specify what kind of permissions they are going to have. So I just want only managers to access this particular screen. So I'm just allowing managers to access it. There are also like other kind of permissions: cap allow, cap prohibit, cap prevent. You can even use that. And there is one more field like clone permissions, which is used when you want to clone the permission of the clone the capability of some other plugin into this capability. You can use that field, clone permission, which is not required for a plugin today. So next step would be after creating your database tables and defining your capabilities, next step would be your language strings. And string API is the one which is used to set up your language strings. And English is the default language for Moodle development, as you all know that. So it's again a simple process to create a language directory under your plugin directory. Hope you remembered we created a DB directory so far under your plugin directory, and inside DB directory we have install.xml and access.php page. Now we are going to create a directory called lang under your plugin directory, which comes under last access. You'll have DB and language directory. Now under language directory we are going to create a directory called EN, which stands for English, and under that we are going to create a language file. Again, the naming convention would be something like plugin type underscore plugin name.php, as you see here. So our plugin type would be report and your plugin name is last access, so it's report underscore last access.php. So yeah, after creating your language directory, your directory structure looks something like this. Hope you remember this. We came across all these steps, creating your plugin directory and creating your DB directory, and this is your language directory under which you have EN directory, under which you'll have your language file. So this is the language directory created for this particular plugin, and this is how you declare your strings. This is a syntax or something, and it's always a best practice to declare your strings in alphabetical order. And next one would be your version control. It's again included in your main directory, under your main directory, and version control has the following fields like version of the plugin, which explains which version of the plugin are you installing. This is mainly used in installation process. And version of the Moodle, which version of Moodle you would require to install this plugin, and Moodle component, what component of Moodle are you using. It's just a plugin. Normally it would be like your plugin type underscore plugin name, and next stands for your maturity of the plugin, which would be like either alpha, beta, RC, or stable. And next is cron job frequency, which explains you how frequently you want to run your cron job. And next is dependencies. If you want to include other plugins, for this plugin to work, if you want to include some other plugins, you can include those using your dependencies. So yeah, now you could see a clear structure of your directory structure. Clear picture of your directory structure. So this is how it looks after creating your version.php. So here is the version.php file created for our plugin today, and I have just declared the version and the Moodle version required and the component. And next would be your settings.php file, which is mainly used for navigation purpose. And to create the settings.php file, again you have to go in under your main plugin directory, and you have to create a file called settings.php. And this is the settings page created for a plugin directory. And you could see this $admin here. It's an instance of an admin root, and it has a function add function to add this particular page to it. And the first field would be a reports, which is your plugin type. And next would be your adding your admin underscore external page, and this has the following fields like first one is your name. This is just a unique name which you have to follow. If you're adding one more page, and you have to have different names. And next is get string underscore plugin name comma report last access. This is how you retrieve your language string from the language file which you have created. This is the function used to retrieve your language string. And next is the path of your main page that is defined as the next parameter, and the fourth parameter would be your capability. Yeah, so this is your final structure of your directory after creating all these pages. So these are the things necessary, basic things for creating your plugin. So once you have done all this, you can go in and you can install a plugin. To install a plugin, under we have to navigate under site administration, under which we can find a notification link. When you click on that link, it displays a page like this where you could see your plugin name along with the status like to be installed, and you could see the new version requires the stuff whatever you have declared in your version.php. You can again reconfirm it here, and when you click on this upgrade Moodle database, now your plugin gets installed if there is no error in it, and if there is a successful installation, you get this message. And after getting this message, now when you go navigate through your site administration menu, you find some reports thing, under which now you could see that there is a link for last access report created, but you cannot access this link because you're directing this link to a page. We have already directed this link to a page like index.php, which we haven't created. So when you click on that link, that takes you through some error page. So to avoid that, we have to create index.php, which would be the next step. So index.php file includes your page setups, and it also includes the thing which you would like to output to the screen. So for setting up your page, there's an API used in Moodle called Page API, and $page would be the object used to set up the page, and it has various functions like set URL, set contact, set title, set page layout, set heading, where you can define your URLs and you can define your headings and what kind of layout you would prefer. You can do all those things using your $page object. And there is another API called Output API, which is used to send output to the browser, and $output is the object used for that. And below screen explains you a sample output code. I'm just trying to echo hello world to the output screen. So yeah, this is the final, it's not final, this is your basic index.php file, which includes your page setup and your output things, and it also checks for your capability, and it also includes your config file and gets the system context, and you're setting up your URL using your Moodle URL function, and that URL is passed to set URL page object. So this URL is set to your page. So this is just a sample code. So when you're trying to execute this code, the output would look something like this. Can you see hello world, which is echoed out to the browser? So next thing is, now that we have displayed a hello world message, next thing is like we would like to design some form elements. Obviously we want to design some form elements as per our requirement. So next step would be designing a form elements, and there is a form API which is used to design your form elements, and this form API supports all HTML elements. And to use this form API, we need to create another file called index_form.php, again under your plugin directory. So I hope you guys can see this. I hope you all can see this. So this is your index_form.php, which is extended from your Moodle form. And under this, you have a function called definition, where you define your form elements, and $mform is an object used for this, and add element is the function which is used to add your elements to the form. And you could see I'm creating a select element, and I'm creating a date selector, and once again a date selector, and I'm adding a submit element. And there is also a function called function validation, which is used for validation purpose. You can validate all your elements through this function. So now that we have created our index.php file and index_form.php file, we have to include the form to our index.php file. So for that, you have to add this particular line in your index.php file. Hope you all can see this. So this is how you add your form. Hope you could remember this is your form name, which we saw this in the previous slide. Can you see it's last access underscore form? And we are including the index underscore form into this page, and we are trying to load up the form using this is how it is done. So now that we have created index.php, we have created index underscore form.php, which in turn created the elements. We have also added included index underscore form.php to index.php. So after doing all this, your output screen will look something like this. Hope you all remember that we created a select box, and we created some date selectors, and we created a submit button. So date selector, by default, it shows the current date, and you could see that course is not populated still. So we need to list out all the courses available in your site. So for that, we need to do some data manipulation, and your next step would be doing your data manipulation, and there is an API called data manipulation API which does that, and $db is the object used for that. So you just need to there are like several kind of functions, get records SQL. There are several functions you can use to fetch your data from the database to display it on your screen. And once you do that, you get you can see now your select box is populated with your course list. I just had one course, and that's why it's showing only one. You can also show any number of courses in this. I'm just trying to show you the function. So yeah, this is how we use it, $db get record SQL. This is how you use your data manipulation APIs. So yeah, now that we have created everything, we are now ready for our process. So I'm selecting Java fundamentals from this list, and I'm selecting a particular date range. And when I click on display button, as per our requirement, we have to list down all the users who have accessed this particular course during the date range which we have selected. So to do all these things, we need to submit the data to the form, and we need to process the data. So next step would be processing your data. And to submit, when you submit your data, you need to fetch the data which has submitted, and get underscore data is the function which is used to get the data submitted. Okay, so we are just checking whether the data is submitted, and if any data has been submitted, we are just going to process the data. And as I told before, we are trying to list out the users who have accessed the particular courses. So listing would look good when we list out in a table. So here is a table API used to create a table. Hope you all could see that. You're creating a header, you're creating a table, creating your header, and you're loading your data into table. So this is how it is done. Once all this is done, you're trying to output your table. Hope you all could see this echo HTML writer. This is how we try to output our table. So once you do this, now when you execute your form, it should look something like this. So I have selected Java fundamentals, and I have selected a particular date range, and it just listing me the user who have accessed the particular course in particular date range. And yeah, that's about developing your plugin. I think I have pretty much gone through all the steps, basic steps which involved in developing your plugin. And next would be like your tool used for code checking. There's a new tool called code checker, through which you can pass your plugin, and it lists out all the errors you have, all the things which you can rectify it from your code. And it's a very helpful tool. Any developer would make use of it. And here are the list of resources which you'd require You can go in and you can refer your APIs and your code checker stuff, and you can, yeah, some of useful links are provided here. And yeah, that's at the end of the presentation. Do you have any questions? Yeah, I will upload my sample program to Git, and I'll just try to pass you on your the link to access it. I'll upload it to the forum so you guys can have a look. Yeah, I think Shane would know better about this, my coding errors, because he's my reviewer. So yeah, like general coding mistakes would be this main thing would be the force space indentation, and when you have the particular line exceeding the maximum limit, that's one thing. And some other stuff like using variables in uppercase, and yeah, it goes on and on. Yeah, I just
I'll jump in there now, Dave. Pukunui, we actually leave it open to most developers to choose whatever IDE they want to use. But Priya, I know, she goes hardcore and uses just use a window. Basically, she shells in her own computer and uses VI. So she's pretty hardcore in that sense. But what do you guys use different IP? Oh, okay. How do you find PHP Storm? Like, what I recalled, it used to be, does it integrate with Git okay? Oh, cool. By the time I gave it a go again. Cool. Yeah, I'll just add some extra final comments. Yes, it gets at that point, doesn't it? The typing fails. Just in terms of plugin development, I was saying in the first session that I think one of the things I found, just being around Moodle for a while, is that Martin always had the idea that the M being modular for Moodle, so that there always would be this idea of modules or plugins in Moodle, that you could extend it however you wanted. But the early days, it was almost every type of plugin was completely different, the way it worked, and I think it's become very good, especially since Moodle 2, Moodle 2.0 has come out, that there's more consistency in the plugin types. So the directory structure that Priya was showing is actually consistent across every type plugin. You can have a DB directory, there's a lang directory for the language and so on. And that makes it so much easier from a development point of view that you're writing a plugin, and it would be a type of plugin, but the kind of structure of it is consistent. The harder thing, I think, nowadays is all the Moodle API. While you might be a PHP programmer, one of the harder things to do is now learn all the Moodle APIs, but thankfully there's some good documentation. So I posted that link earlier. There's good documentation on it. And let me say, we do a lot of development work and always referring back to the Moodle docs. You just can't remember everything that's in there. So it's a good reference material, actually, the doc site now. So that's kind of kudos to the core developers and Martin's team who are doing all that writing. Any other questions for Priya, Chris? Well, let me wrap up. Let me just say thank you to Priya for giving me your time. You raced through that, half an hour. But thank you for that. And I know the idea was to do a primer, so obviously it's hard to teach everyone how to program a plugin in a short amount of time. But I think that gave everyone a great overview of what to do, and obviously those links at the end are good reference material to go back to and then help people on their way. So thank you.